So I'm taking a walk down to Debbie's plot this morning, and it's a gorgeous morning, and we've done a lot of work on this plot. In fact, Debbie's done a lot of work on this plot and I've just helped out a little tiny bit. I grow all the seedlings, do the harvesting, but Debbie does most of the work here, and it's kind of her design and it's gorgeous. And it was such a mess, this plot, when we got it, but now it's getting there, and we keep on working on making it easier to look after, because the way Debbie likes to work her plot is in kind of big chunks of time but quite infrequently, and so it needs, it lends itself to perennial planting. And you can see there's quite a lot of perennial planting here, and the annual planting tends to be plants that just stay around for a long time and don't need a lot of TLC in between. So I'm just going to start at the gate here, and I'm going to take you on a quick tour around. So we've got strawberries in planting pockets down there in their pallet fence. We've got her beech hedge, which is coming along quite nicely. We've got a bit of garlic in here, strawberries interplanted with garlic there. These are the second early broad beans, and these are following on nicely from the first earlies that are in the polytunnel. We've got a few beans on these now, and then these are the main crop, and over there we've got the late crop, and then we've got herbs, more herbs here, and rhubarb and yacon. And the yacon is we dig up, harvest all the tubers, give away any spare crowns, and then plant one crown back in there again once all risk of frost has passed. And from that little tiny shoot grows a plant that's 6 foot tall, and I think we harvested 24 pounds or something like that of tubers last year. We've got a few salad onions here, and then this patch here has all currants with a honeyberry at the end there, and there's just a few raspberries down the front. And this whole area here used to be currants, and we didn't need that many currants, so we've got now a new asparagus bed which is just being left to grow on for a couple of years before it's harvest ready. We've got some cauliflowers there with one little kale in the centre, calabrese there, and here we've got the most amazing crop of spinach. And this, we did one harvest on it last week. Obviously we'll do another harvest on it today actually. And this is a follow-on crop from the spring spinach, the early spring spinach on my plot, which is finishing now and being replanted with carrots. We have spinach obviously all year round, but this is the particular favourite of ours in spring. We just can't quite keep up with this bed. As you can see, the size of the leaves are pretty impressive. So Debbie did have a perennial border down here, and it still is a perennial border, but we've thinned it out no end because it was getting to be a bit of a tangled mess and very difficult to weed and just generally look after, and less productive than you might think. And now it's a lot more sparsely planted, so just rhubarb. I can't remember what this one is actually. Oh, it's a plum, and then here we've got a cherry, and then we've got pear, and plum again, I think. And then just a few more currants and more garlic and another little tree. I think that's an apple tree. And then this bed is soon to be the winter squash bed. And here we used to have an arch here, and it just rusted over the last few years, and it just basically collapsed. And so that removing that has opened up a lot of space actually. So we've now got quite a substantial winter squash bed. And we were actually thinking we weren't going to grow as much winter squash, but now we've cleared all this extra space. Yeah, this is not a bad sized bed now, so we're going to be pretty self-sufficient, I think, in winter squash this year. Although we thought we were going to have to resort to buying some. And this is where we have been harvesting most of the field bean tips. So field bean tips were an amazing crop. And we just harvest this tip here all the way through winter and spring. And we generally want to take it out once it starts flowering, because at that point it's starting to take nitrogen out of the ground rather than put nitrogen into the ground. But the field bean tip harvest is still too valuable to us, so we're going to do 2 more harvests off here, and then we'll take this out, and this will make a lot of compost for us. And then we're going to put more well composted horse manure on top and put the winter squash in here. Winter squash isn't quite ready yet. And when the spinach comes out, which won't be long, because spinach doesn't last very long in the heat of May before it starts going to seed, we'll have cauliflowers and calabrese. So we've already got some calabrese there, so we'll just carry on with cauliflowers and calabrese down there. Got a little workbench here, and then more perennial planting down here. Gooseberries, apples, cherries, raspberries, gooseberries and apple, and a little horse chestnut that was gifted to a friend of ours, and we're just holding on to it for a little while. And Debbie's like little woodland nature area. So we are upgrading all the wood chip on this plot so that it's deep like this. Weed control is a big issue on this plot, and so we need at least 4 inches of wood chip, and even then we're still getting a lot of perennial weed growth through it, but you can only do what you can do. But this has had wood chip on it, but it was 3 or 4 years ago, so it's due a new big upgrade. And I do love wood chip paths. Once it's done, it just looks so lovely. So I think that is pretty much it. It is a lovely plot. It has its challenges. As I say, weed pressure here is as bad as it is on my plot, but because I'm on my plot a bit more than Debbie is, it's a bit more of a challenge for her, so we're working harder on this plot than on my plot to try and get the weeds under control, to get the workload down to her sort of level, which is just a couple of hours a week. And yeah, I can't think of anything else to say apart from the flowers on that back border are really, aren't they beautiful? And there's irises there, and you can see hopefully she's got another little beech hedge going down the back there. And the final little border is acrolegia, I think, down here, which is looking really nice. A few little red cabbages coming on well, and Jerusalem artichokes. Quite a few slugs in here. She only filled these slug traps a few days ago, and yeah, there's quite a few accumulated over winter. They do work. So I hope you like that quick video on a very chilly May morning. My name's Steve. This is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.